Hello, hello, hello. I'm excited. Are you excited? This is great news. Thanks to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden and all my Patreon supporters for helping this channel grow. The Q3 numbers are in. The delivery numbers are in. Very, very excited about the Q3 delivery numbers. So we're going to talk about this for a minute. Here's the numbers. This is on ir.tesla.com. You can see that they produced approximately 238,000 vehicles, delivered over 240,000. Still working through global supply chain and logistics challenges. This is not what Tesla is being held back by logistics challenges, by other issues, and they're still massively outperforming. So you can see the numbers here. Production was 237,823. Deliveries 241,300. A couple notes about this. Let's see. So this is the previous quarter, and what I failed to notice was that deliveries, the 201,250, were less than production. So they had 5,000 vehicles more to deliver that had been produced but not delivered at the end of Q2. So they managed to get a lot of those vehicles delivered for Q3. So we can see the numbers again here. The number of deliveries was a little less, let's say 3,500 more. So there may still be a holdover of 1,500 vehicles that were produced and not delivered, combined with last year's holdover. So even for Q4, we should expect a slight bump on deliveries versus production. So that's an interesting little detail. Notice here, they upped from let's look back at Q2. Q2 was 2,340 Model S and X. That jumped to nearly 9,000 vehicles produced. And again, some of those weren't delivered. Those appear to mostly have been delivered in the third quarter. So that mostly caught up. But that's a really big jump from 2,340 to 9,000. If you figure 9,000 over 3 months, they're delivering 3,000 a month. They're probably up to 4,000 a month in the last quarter. That suggests maybe they'll do 15,000 in Q4, but they're going to start producing Model X, it looks like. So maybe they're going to do 20,000 in Q4. I'm going to give you those numbers in a second. Model 3 and Y, if we go back, Model 3 and Y was 204,000 vehicles produced. And if we go, let me pull up, I should have put this in here. We go back to Q1. Q1, they produced 180,000 Model 3s. In Q2, they produced 204,000. So let's go to my sheet. Here's my spreadsheet. So Q1 is here. They produced 180,000 Model 3s, or 180,300. Q2, they produced 204,000. And Q3, this was my estimate yesterday. Let me put up the right, that's not the right number I want to put up. This is the correct numbers now. So Q1, they produced 180,300 or so. Q2, they produced 204,000 of the Model 3. We're looking at Model 3 and Model Y first. So they increased production of Model 3 and Y by 24,000 units from Q1 to Q2. And it looks like they did it again, exactly 24,000 or roughly 24,000 increase again from Q2 to Q3. So that's really good numbers. And then, you can see that Q3, now the Q4 numbers are wild estimates of what I think is going to happen in Q4. But you can see when I pull up I'm really, I got one thing right. If you watched my video yesterday, I predicted a total of 200. This is my aggressive number for Q3. I predicted 237,500 production, and they actually produced 237,823. So I was only off by 323 units. So I'm gonna claim a little bit of credit there for doing something a little bit right. I'm not saying I was perfect. I'm not saying I am perfect, but I got that one pretty close to right. Now I had a bunch of predictions, so one of them looked pretty good. Oh yeah, and I got a haircut. I did get a haircut just now. Just got a fresh haircut. So let's talk about where this is going. Okay, so we've got, let me pull up hang on, let me pull this up. Okay, so we got my little arrow here. So Q1, 180,000 Model 3s. Q2, 204,000 Model 3s and Ys. Q3, again, 24,000 difference here. Roughly 24,000 difference here. So I think when we go to Q4, 24,000 more would be 252,000 for Q4. I want to talk about where this is going for the year. So 252,000 is sort of a baseline of where we should be in Q4 with Models 3 and Y. with production from Shanghai and production from Fremont. But we have to add to that we expect Giga Berlin and Giga Texas to come online and start producing vehicles. Again, these are production numbers, not delivery numbers. I focus on production rather than delivery. I don't think the difference matters that much. This quarter, delivery was higher than production. Next quarter, it's probably going to be about this even, maybe a little, maybe deliveries will still be a little higher, but ultimately they have to run even because you can't deliver more than you produce. So, assuming that Berlin and Texas produce some Model Ys, which is a reasonable expectation, they're supposedly going to start producing in October, November, start delivering November, December. On top of 252,000, if they each do 9,000 units, you get 270,000 Models 3 and Y in Q4. Now, S and X are hard to predict, but I think this suggests they were at a 4,000 run rate for Model S in Q3. That'll probably go to a 5,000 run rate, which would be 15,000 vehicles. And then we've seen some what looked like production Model X's starting to roll out of the factory. There was a drone shot of some Model X's. So if that happens and they produce 5,000 X's, we should see about 20,000 of those vehicles. That would add up to 290,000 produced in Q4. And when you add these numbers up, you get to 914,000 vehicles produced, not delivered, produced. It should be close for the year. This number may actually be higher, we'll see. So if production falls short in Q4, you have 15,000 or so room to fall and still stay at the 900,000 mark, which it's not critical that it be 900,000, but that's a good sign. So this is totally, Sriram asked about total year numbers. These are the total year numbers for 2021 right here. That we're looking at potentially 30,000 S's and X's, 880,000 3s and Ys, and over 900,000 vehicles for 2021. This number here, this 237,823 that they produced, over 240,000 delivered in Q3, I was surprised they did that well. I did say 237.5. That was sort of an optimistic estimate. I'm pleased to say they outperformed even my most aggressive estimate for what I thought they were going to do in Q3. Very happy to see that. Very good sign for the future. I think Ross Gerber said what this shows is that the September numbers means they're probably on a pace of 1 million vehicles a year already. ElonBits.com for the stainless steel mug. And people ask how I come up with my crazy numbers. I smoke marijuana. This is not an endorsement of marijuana. This is an endorsement of math. I'm high on math. So where does this go? This jump here from 228 to 270 is partly from what I'm expecting to see from Model Y production in Berlin and Texas. And I expect Model Y and production in Berlin and Texas to jump significantly over the course of 2022. I want to say they're going to reach 2 million vehicles a year for the year 2022. I think there's a lot of things that can hold them back from 2 million vehicles in 2022. Really what has to happen, though, is Model Y production has to ramp fast in Berlin and Texas to get there. Because right now, if we're at a pace of 1 million vehicles a year, by the end of the year, if we do 290,000 in Q4, it means we're about 100,000 a month by December. And then you go to 2022, if you're at 100,000 a month and increasing, you're at 1.2 million just at 100,000 a month, but it's increasing over the course of the year. I still think it's going to be a stretch to hit 2 million, but no, I smoked marijuana in college and high school. I haven't smoked it since like 1989 or something like that. So I think 2 million's in reach for 2022, but it really depends on whether they can really ramp production of Model Y in those two factories. Basically, what they're going to have to do is between those two factories, they're going to have to do close to 1 million vehicles. And I think that's a stretch for that ramp. I mean, ultimately, I think those factories will produce more than that. But, 12 months to ramp, they should be well over that by December of 2022. That rate, they should be producing enough. But whether they get there, we'll see. So let's talk about revenue, though. So what I'm expecting for automotive revenue for Q3 is about $12 billion. This is assuming a average revenue per vehicle of $50,000. I think it may be higher than that. I keep seeing increased pricing. I think the shift of the mix of models has shifted to more Model Y and obviously more Model S, which is a higher priced vehicle. So I don't think they're selling, I think they're selling Model 3s, but I think they're selling a lot more Model Ys, which increase pricing. So I think 50,000 might be a conservative revenue number. So expect automotive revenue to be around 12 billion. I have it a little less than 12 billion here, but around 12 billion for automotive revenue. The average selling price has been under 50,000 the first 2 quarters. So, and it's been falling. So it's a little bit optimistic, but then, you see the Model S number jumped. Sorry. You can see that the Model S number jumped. If Model S jumps again to 20,000 vehicles, that's becoming a more significant portion. And Model S's are, an average of $100,000, let's say, or more. So that puts an upward pressure on the average selling price. And we've seen price increases on Model 3 and Model Y. So I think 50,000 might be a little conservative here. Although, like I said, we've been seeing declining numbers. So seeing an increasing number would be pleasant. And then total revenue, roughly 15%. The other revenue adds up to about 15% of automotive revenue. So I'm roughly predicting $14 billion for Q3. You follow these numbers out, we're looking at automotive revenue of around 46 billion for the year 2021 and total revenue of 53 billion. That's up from 31.5 billion. That's about a 70% increase in revenue. We're looking at a more than 80% increase in vehicle production, in units produced, 2021 versus 2020. Remember, 2020 was about 500,000 vehicles produced. We're looking at over 900,000. 900,000 would be an 80% increase in production. Because Model S and X were a much bigger portion of sales in 2020, that means reduced average selling price for 2021, and that's why you only see a 70% increase in revenue versus an 80% increase in production. But, we're looking at a very, very large increase. And then profit, if you follow James Stevenson, who's I Cannot Enough on Twitter, thank you again for the haircut. If you follow James Stevenson, profit should be increasing faster than revenue. There are certain fixed costs that Tesla has, and as you increase the amount of volume that they produce, those fixed costs don't increase as much as the other production costs. So we should see significantly higher profits for Q3, even bigger in Q4, and the profits for the year should be very, very high, and that is suggesting... Now, as I understand it, Wall Street's prediction for deliveries was 200 and... Hang on. Deliveries was... let's put this back up. Deliveries here was 241,300. I believe the Wall Street average estimate was around 220,000. So Tesla outperformed Wall Street estimates by nearly 10%. That's a big beat. And you can expect that revenue and profit that will be released later in the month will also be a big beat. So Wall Street is really, really hard to understand. I'm just going to say this. Wall Street, trying to understand Wall Street is really, really hard. We've seen this before where Tesla beats numbers and Wall Street, the price goes down. So as I look at it, everything looks good. We should see the share price go over $800 on Monday. But Wall Street is Wall Street. Who knows? Thank you, Carl. For those who don't know, I had a haircut today at Ace's Barbershop in West Boca. Love those guys. Very happy with them. If you're ever in West Boca, Glades Road, Ace's Barbershop, they'll take care of you. Because of the pandemic, I've been doing my own hair. I bought a set of clippers, and that's why my hair never looks good. And I actually think this is one of the best haircuts I've ever had. So I'm really happy. So yeah, I think if you look at these numbers, by the way, I will have a regular live stream Sunday at 1:00. I just got so excited about this. I had to put my numbers up. Really, really happy to see. I'm not going to go very long. I'm going to talk about this again tomorrow a little bit more. I'll do a little bit more analysis. I got other things I want to talk about, really. That's the funny thing. And we have the shareholder meeting coming in just a few days, in 5 days. So we're going to be a lot of Tesla content early in October for my channel. So let me just look at the comments here, the chat. Let's see if anybody has any. People are talking about Lucid in the comments. I will be making a video about Lucid. I may release that. Since I have a live stream Sunday, I'll probably release that on Monday. I am going to work on a video on Lucid. I'm going to be a little bit compromising, but just to let you know, I'm still skeptical of Lucid. So I don't think they're there. I still see some issues that border on fraud. Yes. So, but if they still haven't done it, people are already doing victory laps because they got an EPA rating. They still haven't delivered vehicles to customers. So this is interesting. Shock City Rocker says, any coincidence that CNBC just dropped a 20-minute long video trashing Tesla's solar business? Yeah, that doesn't seem like a coincidence, does it? It seems like whenever Tesla has good news, the media has to drop bad news. It's total nonsense. Lucid plans to deliver 520 cars by year, and let's see them do it. Do it. When they do it, I'll admit that they did it, but they got a lot of problems beyond that. Thoughts about the Volkswagen crisis meeting? Yeah, I mentioned this on Twitter. Volkswagen has supposedly had this meeting where they were concerned that the Tesla factories that are producing Model 3s produce like a vehicle every 3 hours, and it takes Volkswagen 10 hours to produce a vehicle or something like that. And that they're going to work their butts off to get down to 3 hours a vehicle. The problem is by the time they get to 3 hours a vehicle, Tesla's going to be producing the battery day vehicle every 30 minutes. So the legacy automakers are chasing what Tesla was doing 3 years ago instead of trying to catch up to what Tesla's going to be doing 3 years from now. And that's a huge problem for them. That's a huge, huge problem. So a lot of Lucid fans watching my live streams. That's crazy. I don't think the stock is going to tank on Monday. I think the stock will hold its ground. I am terrible about short-term. This is the thing. Like I'm good at making long-term, what do I think the value of the company will be in 5 years predictions. I'm very comfortable with that. Short-term stock price predictions are so hard to do because Wall Street just doesn't make any sense. These are spectacular numbers. In the middle of an apocalypse in the regular automakers, Tesla is just banging it. They're just crushing it. It's absolutely spectacular. Andy Onion says Lucid are capitalized reasonably for a startup. No, they aren't, Andy. They're capitalized to get through some of next year, and they're probably going to have to do another funding round by the end of next year. And their path to profitability is a long way away. They will not make profits on their own numbers, not my numbers. On their own projections, Lucid will not make profits until sometime in 2025, maybe. And that's if everything goes well, and I don't think things are going well. There's a lot of problems there. So I don't want to say Lucid. I think Lucid is dubious. I'm gonna step away from trash and fraud a little bit. I'm close to it. Yeah, no, I agree, and I agree that Tesla Solar has some customer service issues. I had them. Tesla won't 20x by 5 years. You're crazy. Okay, so CM says Tesla won't 20x by 5 years. So here's the thing, CM. Tesla's got 2 factories. First of all, if you've seen my previous recent videos, I was at the Tesla Gigafactory. It's big. It's really, really big. This is like, Fremont is capable of producing 600,000 vehicles a year. How many vehicles do you think that alien dreadnought's going to produce when it's ramped? That thing's going to produce a ridiculous number of vehicles. And then, probably 2023, maybe 2024, we're going to see the battery day vehicle factories, and they're going to be pumping out vehicles like crazy. And, the 20x in 5 years depends on Robo-taxi being delivered within 5 years. If Tesla has a fleet of 10 million Robo-taxis by 2026, which is where I get my numbers, then I think 20x is low. If they have a fleet of 10 million Robo-taxis, the profit from Robo-taxis is absolutely crazy. It's insanely gigantic. Let's see. I'm just looking at some chat comments here. Let me move these some. What if Wall Street never gets it right? So this is a good point. Justin Bartley says, what if Wall Street never gets it right? I don't think Wall Street will ever get it right, but what might happen is at some point Tesla succeeds enough that there's a shift. And there's a tendency among Wall Street firms and analysts and the media that when somebody becomes the dominant player, they tend to get more favorable views. And you might see a shift the other way. This is something that people can't wrap their heads around. It may be that Wall Street shifts the other way. We saw this with Cisco Systems, that there was this, all of a sudden Cisco Systems had a premium because it was the top dog in the market. General Electric had this sort of premium because they were the big player. So if Tesla becomes the big player and is perceived as the big player by Wall Street, we may see a shift to where the stock price goes above what I think it's worth. That's when I would sell some, not much. But if I think it's worth 20,000 a share and Wall Street prices it at 40,000 a share, I might sell some at that point. I'm not religious about it. As long as there's something else for me to buy that I think is a better buy. Inspiration 420. Mathawana, elonbits.com. Somebody mentions the shirts. The stainless steel water mug. Water bottle. I really love these. I have 2 of these. I love these. Lucid will be profitable in 10 years. I think if Lucid is able to raise the money to keep going through 2025 and they're able to achieve what they say they're going to achieve, they could be profitable in 4 or 5 years. But they have a long road to go to manufacture at scale, and is there a market for what they're producing? Their strategy assumes that there's a big market for $100,000 vehicles, and I don't know if the market's that big. So we'll see. What's with Tesla not installing solar panels on clay tile roofs? I don't know about that. I haven't heard that before. Just looking at the chat comments here. Hi, Danielle Watson. Danielle Watson's in the chat. Danielle and I met in person in Austin at the Austin Proper Hotel. Great place. Really nice people. We had a really good time. I think I have pictures of it on Twitter. I could be wrong. Oh, thank you for your support, Chris. Are you going to be doing tours at the Florida Beach Boring Tunnel? So for those who don't know, Fort Lauderdale, Florida is in the middle of potentially making a deal with the boring company to do a tunnel system from downtown Fort Lauderdale along Las Olas Boulevard or under Las Olas Boulevard to the beach or near the beach at the end of Las Olas Boulevard. So I don't think Fort Lauderdale has basically rejected all other bids, but they have not accepted the boring company bid yet. I think they are working on it. So if they do that, and I'm still here, I am planning to move out of South Florida in a couple of years. I think there's a really good chance we will see those tunnels before I leave, and I'll be back anyway visiting. I will definitely visit the Fort Lauderdale boring tunnels. I will try to get access before it's public. I know some of the right people, so we'll see. I did get to visit boring company property briefly in Austin, and that was really cool. Talked to a couple of nice people. We'll see. Return on capital is not to be ignored. Tesla can bring billions to bear. If they can get to a return on capital of 40%, they make $400 million a year for every billion invested. I think the return on capital it's a great statistic. It's not the kind of analysis that I do. It's just not my approach. But I think that the big question really for Tesla's profit story is, are they able to deliver Robo-taxi? And let me just talk about that a little bit. I'll probably talk about it tomorrow, but I've got a little bit of experience driving. I've got a little bit of experience watching FSD beta drive now, having watched Omar in particular drive lengthy. And I see some major hurdles that I think they will get through soon. I think by version 11, which is probably a month away or so, we're going to see one stack to rule them all, that the same software will drive parking lots, highways, and regular roads. And I think that's going to be, I think the transition from one stack to another is a problem. The transition from parking lot to regular roads is a problem. The transition from highway to regular roads is a problem. There are little glitches when those transitions happen that should go away when one stack rules them all, when there's one software stack driving everywhere. The other big hurdle that I see that I'm confident they can resolve is that the navigation doesn't always work well with FSD. The FSD doesn't always work well with navigation. Simple example, you're going to a supercharger station and it's on the left and you're driving down the road and there's an entrance to the parking lot right there. And the navigation tells it to drive by, turn left on the next street and turn in there. And there's a barrier between oncoming lanes, so you can't actually make the left turn. So there needs to be a level up in the navigation. I think that's something that is not really important to fix yet, but that's something that they will probably resolve in the next few months. And when they integrate the navigation with FSD better, that will solve that problem. And that was, to me, and Omar Kazi was the one who was really running the show on our Inspiration 420 trip across the country. Omar's view was, I think Omar doesn't agree with me on this, but I felt like half of our problems were related to nav connecting to FSD. The interaction between the navigation and the FSD. So if they can improve that, that's great. The other things that I do see issues with is complex intersections. It definitely struggles with complex intersections. I think it's getting better. I think sometimes it does surprisingly well and sometimes it doesn't. And that's just a matter of training, that you need more vehicles, doing more of it, sending data back to the data center, more compute, more processing power at the data center, processing more data will resolve those issues. And that gets the bulk of the major problems out of the way. And then you get to the March of Nines, which is the more detailed problems that it's going to struggle with. So Amit asks about the next Gigafactory, which relates to the next vehicle, the Battery Day vehicle. I think we're going to hear about that later this year. Once the Berlin and Austin start ramping and are making good progress, then I think they may start talking about the next generation factory and the next generation vehicle. I don't think it's going to happen before that. I don't have any insight on it yet. My own view is it's going to be not one vehicle. It's going to be a platform with multiple vehicles, minivan, a van, a hatchback, cargo van. I think there's a lot of potential for that. I think the delay in Cybertruck, the delay in Semi, the delay in Roadster suggest that we may also see a delay in the Battery Day vehicle. The other side of that is Battery Day vehicle is going to be using lithium iron phosphate cells, which should be easy to get. The Battery Day vehicle will probably be designed around the chip problem, so it's less likely to be a problem for the Battery Day vehicle. And it may be that the Battery Day vehicle is a greater priority and will not get delayed like the other things. So we'll see. And I think that the Battery Day vehicle will be produced in China, probably near Shanghai, in the United States, probably near Texas, probably in Austin, and then probably in Europe, maybe Berlin or maybe somewhere else in Europe. We'll see. I'm not planning to invite Gordon Johnson on. What was the other question I wanted to answer? Let's see. Lucid's strategy assumes they are competing in the market for luxury cars and EVs are not niche. You don't already believe EVs are the future of the auto market. Tesla doesn't make sense. I believe EVs are the future of the auto market. I'm just not sure there's a big enough market for the luxury vehicles that they're pushing. Andy Onions says boring company needs walk-on-off autonomous tram type vehicles. I don't agree with that. I think they need a single passenger vehicle that I'm going to make, but we'll see. Do I see an opportunity for Tesla Energy in China for Tesla mega packs? I do. I think they just announced a mega pack factory in the United States. And yeah, the Lathrop. So I think that the Chinese market, I wouldn't be surprised if CATL or other Chinese companies are going to be more competitive on mega packs in China. Tesla certainly will want a piece of that market. If they can get it, great. What is this? 40% return on invested capital only belongs to super cap tech companies. Auto manufacturers have less than 10% return on invested capital. But Tesla isn't just a car company. Tesla is really a software and hardware company, and its cars are computers on wheels. And the big driver in Tesla's success is software, not hardware. Manufacturing is really important at getting high margins. They're getting spectacular margins on their vehicles, so they're not a typical automaker. Did I get the Tesla Solar email stating they would honor the original contract price for your solar installation? No, I did not. I did not get such an email. Do I think Tesla will pay a dividend in the future? In the future, yes. I don't know how soon, and I don't really worry about dividends. I don't think that's that important. Green Tech Fusion says, hey Warren, I'm here in Texas outside San Antonio. I recommend you get land or property fast near Austin if that's where you're heading in a couple years. That is actually my plan. If you email me, wredlick@gmail.com, I'd love to talk to you about that. I was actually thinking somewhere south of Austin on the way to San Antonio, get 5 acres of land, and I have something I want to build there. So I would love to talk to you, Green Tech Fusion, about that. Somewhere north of New Braunfels, probably about 30 minutes outside of the south side of Austin would be good. And off-grid doesn't have to be prime land, just has to be buildable. That's all I need. Even if Tesla sells every single car worldwide and profits $10,000 per car, the stock would not be at 20,000 at a PE of 20. Okay, so Thomas Schmidt is stuck on the automaker profit model, and he's not getting the Robo-taxi model. The Robo-taxi model is that Tesla doesn't just sell cars. Tesla builds its own fleet of Robo-taxis. Okay? And Elon said at Autonomy they'd expect to have a fleet of 10 million Robo-taxis. And each Robo-taxi is going to make $50,000, $60,000 a year in profit. Some people think they're going to make $100,000 in profit. They make $50,000 in profit each, and you have 10 million of them. That's $500 billion in gross profit a year just on the Robo-taxis. Now you do the numbers, and PE of 20 is ridiculously low for a company that's growing as fast as Tesla is. That's a PE of 40 would be low. So $500 billion at a PE of 40, and you get a $20,000 share price, and that excludes energy, money they make from energy, money they make from selling other cars, all kinds of things. So, what are my thoughts about road tripping? Okay, so somebody asked how long the trip was. We left Los Angeles at 6 a.m. on, I want to say the 22nd, and we got to Florida late on the 25th. I think it was close to midnight on the 25th. We spent a night, let's say it was Deming, New Mexico, or maybe, I think we made it to El Paso the first night. So, is that right? I think we made it to El Paso the first night. We left the next day. We got to Austin, Texas. We had fun in Austin. We got to see the Gigafactory. I think we saw the Gigafactory at night. We saw it again in the morning. We went to this Austin proper hotel and hung out with people, including Danielle, who I think is still in the chat. On Warbeck, Matt, it's a bunch of us. It was a great time. Apple PE is around 33. Amazon's PE is over 70. So, I think that Tesla's point at its growth curve in 5 years, a PE ratio of 50, 60, or 70 would be more appropriate, but I'll give it 40. So, it was a 4-day trip. We weren't always, what I would say is, if you've driven a Tesla on a long trip, it will tell you where to stop for supercharging. It will give you estimates of how long you will supercharge and what time you'll arrive at various points. And I like to joke that the nav works on Elon time, because you never get there as fast. That's like the optimum. If you do everything right the way it says, you'll get there at the time it says. But when you have 4 people in the car, we have what's called mild collective dysfunction. That's a new term I've coined, mild collective dysfunction. There's always somebody who's not ready at the moment you're supposed to leave. It's often 2 people. So you never leave when you're supposed to leave, and there's other things that hold you up, or you decide you're going to shop at some place or something. You never get there as fast as you think you're going to get there. So, Marco says, go fast and charge often, or slow and charge little. Everyone tells me that it's faster to go fast and charge more. I think that the key distinction is that if you drive a little slower, if you drive 5 miles an hour slower, yeah, you'll get there a little bit later, but it's actually a lot closer than you'd think based on the speed, because you're charging less. Anyway, it was a great trip. I don't think I would do that again for a while. I think I might do like a trip to Destin, Florida to see Paul Horton, or to DeLand, Florida to see Kat Paterno. There's a few different people I might want to take a trip to see, or just go to Canaveral, that's not even a long trip. That's 2.5 hours for me to go. I'm certain I'm going to be going to Canaveral to watch launches in the near future, and maybe do other things. I talk about Austin, Texas. I'm actually very interested in Canaveral area. I'm going to learn more about the Canaveral area. I may move to Canaveral rather than move to Austin, Texas. Hank says, I liked your pole dancer. Will it be a standard feature? It's not my pole dancer. I think you're referring to Ellie in Space. Encourage people to watch the Ellie in Space channel. She's fantastic. We spent a few days together at the southern tip of Texas. I appreciate everyone thinking that she's my girlfriend, but hashtag not my girlfriend. It turns out that I'm not her type. The movie Capo says, I'm a bit behind in your live stream. I think you are forgetting that Model Y had several prices increases in Q2 that did not get reflected in Q3. Yeah, I did my numbers. If you watch earlier in the live stream, let me put these numbers back up. These are the yellow numbers are the released numbers. And then if you go here, I have average selling price. I do have an increase in average selling price, but it's not much. I agree that we've seen price increases, and also the share held by Model S is up. And I think the share held by Model S will go up a little bit more. Now, that's still small, but Model S and Model X are $100,000 vehicles or so on average. So that should push up the average selling price a bit. Model Y getting a greater share of the total sales should push up the selling price a bit. But China, I believe, has lower selling prices. So China may be pushing down the selling prices a little bit. So I think 50,000 is a good ballpark average selling price. But you may be right. It may be up more than this. I'm just not sure. I don't want to say for sure. I'm not 100% sure of that. And, what happens to China vehicles sold in Europe? I don't know. It's complicated. But, we see that from Q1 to Q2, average selling price actually went down. So is the average selling price going to bounce back up? I think it will, but it's hard to predict that. So let's get that out of here. Let's see what else we got here. How much do you enjoy your Model 3 and finally being a Tesla owner? Great question. I really like it. I mean, I really like it, first of all. The thing is, the car has 80,000 miles and it drives spectacular. There's certain things I did not anticipate until this trip, and certain things that I appreciate more as I drive the car. The smoothness And the ability to accelerate rapidly and smoothly is surprising. When you drive another car and you accelerate, there's this brief bump. It's usually not that bad. With the automatic transmission or a stick shift, there's this little pause in the acceleration. And when you're driving a Tesla, it just goes. There's no, it's one speed. It just goes. So that's, I don't really drive that fast, but every once in a while you like there was I was approaching a stale green light and I was worried it was going to change. This is just today. And I hit it. And it ended up, I didn't really have to worry about it. It changed yellow while I was in the intersection. I still would have made it if I hadn't hit it. But, you know, the ability to get there really quickly when you want to is a nice little feature. Cornering's great. Driving's great. One of the things from the long trip, I was not aware of this one feature that is absolutely amazing in a Tesla is you say, all right, I'm in Los Angeles. I want to go to El Paso. You put in El Paso and it tells you where to stop and charge on the way. That's it knows how much battery you have. It knows how much battery you're likely to use. And it says, all right, when you get to, if I go up to Canaveral, like we went to Sebring to visit my mom with my brother just recently. And on the way, it said, stop at West Palm Beach and charge at West Palm Beach. Got to Sebring. On the way back, it said, stop at West Palm Beach and charge in West Palm Beach. So we did that. It tells you where to stop on the way. If you're doing a long trip, it will say, all right, stop at these 5 superchargers on the way. Tells you how long you're going to charge, tells you roughly what time you're going to get there. Very, very impressive. So, and like I said, 80,000 miles, the thing is driving fantastic. So the software, I didn't fully understand how great the software integration is. I haven't like programmed it for like my own Spotify account yet. I'm still using Omar's Spotify account. I finally put I got my own toll sticker, my own Sun Pass for going through tolls, so Omar won't be paying for tolls anymore. I got to get shifted over to my ownership and my Supercharger account, so that's going to be a minute. I'm waiting on the registration to go through. So I have somebody asked, how do I normally charge the Model 3? I have it's called a NEMA 1450 outlet that I installed in the garage before I left on my trip. Paid my handyman to install this in the garage, and I think he brought an electrician, and it's in a perfect location to charge the car in the garage or out of the garage, so that's great. Long Fam asked, does the Model 3 still have FSD beta? You know, I don't really understand what that means. The car seems to drive itself well, and I don't know whether it's using FSD or FSD beta, so I can't answer that question. That's like an above my pay grade question. Or I'm not willing to answer that question. Is 2.5 million production in Q4 2022 viable? No, I don't think that's viable. I think the question is whether they can achieve 2 million for the year 2022. I think that's possible. It just depends on how fast Giga Texas and Giga Berlin ramp. It may depend a little bit on whether they start producing Cybertrucks sooner rather than later. If they deliver Cybertrucks in the fourth quarter, that's going to help. If Cybertruck is pushed to the next year, that's going to make it harder. A lot of different things. Does Tesla take any profits on used sales? Probably. Do I own the car? Are you renting it due to updates? I own the car in terms of I made the transaction with Omar. I paid him and I have the car. As far as the state of Florida and the state of California are concerned, I don't think I own it yet. I don't think the title has been transferred yet, but that's a matter of days. Let's see. Laurie says her 2014 Model S is still an awesome car. She says, now order a Plaid. I have a Plaid Model X on order. Whether I go through with the order is an open question, but I do have a Plaid Model X on order. I haven't decided whether to go through with that or not yet. Probably will not go through with it, but it was only a $100 deposit, so I don't really care. Omar got a Performance Model 3 before our transaction. Is the insurance premium higher or lower than expected? The insurance premium is about the same as our other two cars. About $2,000 a year for each car. I'm not happy about it, but it's about $2,000 a year for each car. What are my Q3 earnings per share and revenue estimates? Let's see. I don't know if I did that yet. Maybe I'll do that for tomorrow. I'll probably do that ahead of the financial numbers, like later in the month. I'd have to look at those numbers again. I mean, you got my revenue estimates here. So I don't feel comfortable making those estimates yet. I have to look at those numbers. That's a good question. What are my delivery numbers for Tesla 23? I think it might hit 5 million in the year 2023. It really depends on how quickly they ramp, whether they're able to get the battery day vehicle going for 2023. If they actually start building the factories in 2022 and start delivering vehicles out of those factories in 2023, that's really going to drive high volumes in 2023. I think that's going to get pushed to 2024, but very hard to say. Laurie says, I am a guy. Did I say you were a woman? Okay. Oh, from the tribe. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Seems like FSD is still far off. We won't see Robo-taxi by 2025. I do not think FSD is that far off. Now, listen, James Douma knows this stuff a lot better than I do, and he thinks it's still far off. The way James Douma put it, we just did a call in about this, is we're on an exponential curve. And we just don't know how far we have to go before it's good enough. And the thing is, the day after it's good enough, we're going to be like amazed, and it's going to get better and better and better. So the question is, when do we hit that point where it's good enough? And we can't really know what it takes to hit that. But, you know, like I said, once they go single stack, that's going to solve some problems. Once they resolve the minor conflicts between navigation and FSD, that's going to solve a lot of problems. Those are the two biggest problems I see. Complex intersections is the third. My contact info, if you go to the YouTube page, my channel page, and you click on the About, there's a button you put in, you like prove you're not a robot or whatever, and then it'll give you my email address. Do you experience heartbreaking penalties on your FS? You know, I haven't noticed an FSD safety score on my car. I'm not sure why. I don't know why, but I do not see an FSD safety score. I can't answer the question. How much do I think Tesla car insurance would lower my $2,000 a year payment? I think it would probably lower it by 25% or more. I mean, you know, look, whenever you're driving on autopilot, it's really not on you, but which one is a bigger catalyst, FSD level 5 solved versus Tesla bot solved? Oh, interesting question. So number one, I don't talk about FSD level 5. I don't talk about levels at all. When it's better than human, it's better than human. I don't care whether you call it level. You know, if humans are level 5 and it's better than human, then it's level 5. I just think level 5 is an arbitrary distinction. I think that Tesla bot is down the road. I think FSD will be solved first and Tesla bot will be next. Tesla bot is long-term probably a bigger value driver than FSD, and FSD is a really big value driver. You've watched my interview with Dave Lee. He thinks Tesla bot is absolutely insane, and Dave is one of the most conservative bulls that you'll see. If you watch the look on Dave Lee's face when he talks about Tesla bot, you can see he thinks it's going to be amazing. How many Model 3s can fit into a Starship? I don't know the answer to that. Oh, great question from Laurie Apple. Were you also interested in future technologies in your youth, or did Tesla start the spark? I have always been a science nerd and a technology nerd. I've always been an early adopter from being a child on. I think that with all that said, so I was using a laptop in law school when no one else had a laptop. I was using smartphones when nobody else was. I was using a Palm Treo when nobody else was using smartphones. I've always been an early adopter for everything. You know, I was using Macintosh computers when they first came out. I was using the Commodore 64K PET, the Commodore 4K PET in the late 70s. I've always been an early adopter on technology. Always loved technology. I would say that it's actually SpaceX, though, that the landing of the orbital rocket booster, December 21, 2015, was a spark that lit the fire a lot more and got me more into it. That was a big moment for me. What comes first, FSD or NTSB blocking FSD? I think it's NHTSA that blocks FSD. I'm not sure. I don't know anything about Xiaopeng, so I don't know what that is. Let's see. Yeah, Hank Vermeulen, this is another thing that I'm getting used to with the Model 3. He says, most of the time I drive my Model 3, I never use my brakes. So there's this thing called one-pedal driving, which I had read about, and it's sort of like really easy to get used to. You basically never take your foot off the accelerator pedal. When you pull your foot back, the car slows down. When you put your foot down, the car goes faster. And like in my Volkswagen Passat, when you take your foot off the gas, the car kind of coasts. In a Tesla with Regen, when you take your foot off the accelerator pedal, it doesn't coast, it starts slowing down more quickly. So you have to use your foot on the pedal more. I also think just using FSD, navigate on autopilot, whatever, I find that, you know, if I'm not really like, if you want to drive for fun, then you don't use FSD. If you're just going somewhere and you don't, you want to watch the car drive, then FSD is kind of cool. When will Tesla car insurance be available for you? I don't know when it's going to be available in Florida. I don't know. As far as I know, it's only available in California. I don't see any progress going on there. I don't know what CY23 means. Yeah. Are you going to download and use the Tesla driver evaluation app? I don't even know what that is. I don't know what the Tesla driver evaluation app is. I do not see a safety score on the car, and I don't worry about it. Now, when I transfer ownership formally of the vehicle, will that come up? I don't know. So, do you experience? I don't have an FSD safety score. Everybody's asking me about Tesla a safety score. I don't have one. I have not seen a safety score, so I'm not really that focused on that. So maybe that's why. I think we'll hit. I think the stock price. Sorry, so plumbing rescue brings up the stock price. I think the stock price is going to break break $800 at the beginning of the week. What should happen? Okay, Tesla beat the numbers, right? The delivery numbers beat Wall Street estimates significantly by more than 10%. They beat my estimates. Okay, I thought 237,000 was my optimistic estimate or my aggressive estimate. They beat my aggressive estimate. So if Wall Street makes any sense, I'm not saying it does, the share price should break $800 on Monday. And then you start thinking, when the James Stevenson analysis comes in and you start thinking, what does this do to profit? And you start realizing that the profits are going to go up even more. The EBITDA or EBITDA, whatever, is going to go up even more. I don't think we're going to hit 1,000 this week, but I think we should go well over 800 this week. But, Wall Street doesn't listen to doesn't think the way I think. So it's what it should be. Doesn't mean what it's going to be. What run rate production will Tesla achieve at the end of 2022? Great question, Jose. So if you look at my numbers, so I'm predicting 290,000 vehicles for Q4. If that means 100,000 vehicles produced in December, that's a run rate of 1.2 million vehicles a year. Is it going to be higher than that? I think they're certainly already at 1 million vehicles a year. There's people who are saying they're already at 1 million vehicle a year run rate. Can they get to 1.2 million or 1.3 million by the end of the year? I think it's possible. I think one of the things we don't know, and I hope it's a question for the investor call, is what is production capacity at Giga Shanghai now? Because it seems like Giga Shanghai is producing more than its production capacity. They said its production capacity was 450,000, and it seems like they're already on pace for 600,000 vehicles produced at Giga Shanghai. So that's a big question. And then, can Fremont really scale up and produce more? And what happens with Giga Berlin and Giga Texas? These are all open questions by the end of the year. But I don't think worrying about, the last week or the last month of the year, 2021 matters. It's recognizing if just go to Austin or watch flyovers of the Gigafactory in Austin, watch Joe Tetmeyer's channel, watch Brian Brashinsky's channel, watch these YouTubers droning Giga Texas, and try to get a sense of the scale of that factory. And when you realize what really struck me was I saw this monster factory and it looked like it was all incomplete. And Joe Techmeyer tells me, no, there's 2 complete Model Y lines in there. You just can't see them. It's so big that they have 2 lines per producing Tesla Model Y that aren't even visible from the outside. And those are already basically producing vehicles, in very limited volumes. Maybe not customer vehicles. They're really close to production. So fantastic numbers. Let's see. So Mark Plot says he was expecting 250,000. I did see people forecasting 250,000. I think Rob Maurer maybe said 240,000, 7,000. There was an additional 5,000 vehicle boost from vehicles that weren't delivered last quarter that got them up over 240. Why is Q4 so high in a chip shortage? I don't think the chip shortage is affecting Tesla as much as it's affecting other companies. I think in particular, the chip shortage is not affecting Giga Shanghai. So I think that the chip shortage, Tesla has figured out how to work around it. Omic Context says, Warren said 15 trillion market cap in 5 years. I'll buy you all a beer at that time. I'll be drinking premium rum. I don't think 15 trillion. I've said 25 trillion, 20 or 25 trillion market cap in 2026. If they deliver when Robo-taxi goes live, the share price goes through the roof. If Wall Street doesn't see it, then I don't know what we can do with them. Parity Bit says it would be a PR disaster to release a truly self-driving car that had even half as many accidents as the average driver. So that's a complicated. I want to address this. This is a complicated concept here. So first of all, the media will say anything bad about Tesla, any chance that Elon just talked about this. He was at an event and he said, if Tesla's FSD reduces accidents by 90%, the 10% of getting accidents will sue. And the 90% who didn't get an accident, whose lives were saved by FSD won't even know that their lives were saved by FSD. So that it's sort of a natural thing. The thing that comes up is very simply, what are the numbers? Do they if they crash less than other vehicles, then yeah, there'll be some bad press, but the regulators get it and people get it. And there's this last desperate gasp by legacy auto and the oil industry to try to make Tesla look bad. And frankly, it's not working anymore. Consumer Reports complaining about Tesla encouraging the drivers to drive more safely. It's just stupid. You know, the public gets it. Elon has 60 million followers. He has more followers than all this other media. The public gets it. The media makes a stink, and no one cares. So, yeah, I think the real big boost to Tesla's share price will probably be after the Q3 earnings report, which is roughly October 25th or something like that. I don't think we're going to get those earning numbers at the annual meeting, so we're going to have to wait a little bit for that. I think the other big boost could be, why are they doing this annual shareholder meeting in Austin? My theory is they're going to show off the Model Y lines, and they're going to say we're already in production. So this is my big thing prediction. They are going to announce the Giga Berlin or at least the Giga Texas Model Y lines, Model Y models, and they're going to be different models, and they're probably going to be high performance models, and they're going to cost more, and they're going to sell out immediately. Like, I'm probably, if they announce it, I'm going to put an order in as soon as they announce it. I think they're going to be amazing. We'll see. They're going to be 500 pounds less. They're going to have better range. They're going to have better performance. They're going to be amazing. Are you planning to request the Tesla baiting driving software? If I need to request it, I will request it. Right now, I don't feel that that's an important issue. Will Biden come around and praise Tesla? No. No, he will not. Whenever they massively beat, the stock falls. Yeah, I mean, I agree that the stock might fall on Monday just because Wall Street is Wall Street. How is Gigafactory Buffalo doing with solar? Not too well. As far as I can tell, they're doing okay. It's just the demand is so high you can't... The demand is off the charts. They can't make enough. And then there's the chip shortage too, which may be affecting Giga Buffalo more than anything else. Wow, 1,100 people watching. This is crazy. I'm so pleased to see so many people watching. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your support. Please subscribe to the channel if you don't already. Please share with your friends. Really appreciate this. Talk about Tesla RV. I don't think Tesla RV is going to be a thing. I want Tesla RV to be a thing, but I don't think it's going to be a thing. I think Tesla van will be a thing, and people will build RVs out of them, or Tesla towing will make sense as well. Wall Street Q3 estimate $1.43. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the estimates. That's a good question. I'm going to look at that later. I used Commodore 64. How did you first discover Tesla? I was a PayPal customer early on, so I was aware of Elon Musk early on. I think I probably followed Tesla loosely from the very beginning, but I really got into it in 2015 with the landing of the orbital rocket booster. I started paying more attention to SpaceX. I started paying more attention to Tesla then. Started buying Tesla stock in early 2016. I don't know what Xiaopeng is. You talking about XPeng, the car company? I don't know. I don't think... Somebody says, what do I think about Xiaopeng, which I think is XPeng, the car company. I don't think about it. I have looked at some Chinese car makers like NIO. I think there's a lot of promise for Chinese car makers to succeed, but I think it's an open question. Hard to read Chinese markets. It's hard to know what the transparency is of the companies. When is battery day? I don't think there's going to be another battery day. I think there'll be a factory day. I think there's going to be a next generation Gigafactory day. That's my rough idea of what's coming. Would Biden buy a Tesla if he got a free Neuralink chip for his brain? No. Please do a Twitter space sometime. I don't like Twitter spaces. I like Clubhouse better than Twitter spaces. Maybe I'll think about that. I'll think about doing a Twitter spaces room just to see what happens. With FSD, you no longer need to tow. Just tell your trailer where to meet you. Interesting. Wall Street will probably raise estimates on Monday. I agree with that. We'll see. Yeah, please like the video. Please support the channel. Please subscribe, all that. What's my opinion on Lucid Air? Seems impressive coming from the father of Model Y. So Peter Rawlinson is not the father of the Model Y. He's not the father of the Model S. He provided some useful input on the Model S. My opinion on Lucid Air is it's an open, I think I hope that they succeed and deliver what they claim. So far, I do not believe they're actually delivering what they claim, and I don't think they'll deliver in volume, but I want them to prove me wrong. When do I believe Berlin and Austin will be producing vehicles? I think there's a chance that Austin is already producing vehicles. That on October 7th, when they have the shareholder meeting, I'm trying to think, why would they do the shareholder meeting from Austin when they normally do it from Fremont or Palo Alto? Maybe they're doing it from Austin because they have something to show us in Austin, like, hey, we're producing Model Ys in Austin now. That would be a really big thing for them to do, to say, order your Texas Model Y now. I don't think it'll be a rear-wheel drive Model Y. I think it will be a dual-motor Model Y that will be extra long range and extra high performance. Do I think Fremont will be updated by 2023 when Berlin and Austin are up and running? I think at some point they will update Fremont. I think they're already updating Fremont. I think they're putting new tents up to build more stuff. If you have a line that's productive and working well, you don't want to replace it unless you've got really big improvements to make. But I think we will see Model 3 switch to front and rear castings and eventually shift in other ways. How was Gigafactory? Let's see. I think. All right, how are we doing on time? Thank you, Planeta Tierra, regular supporter. Really appreciate Planeta Tierra, aka Planet Earth, for your support. When do I think Neuralink will have an IPO? I think that's several years away. I think Neuralink IPO is several years away, maybe even 10 years away. Just looking at the chat comments here. Many countries in Europe, people are unaware of Tesla, are deeply under the influence of FUD. I don't know. I mean, I think Teslas are selling like crazy in Europe, so I don't think that's necessarily true. Somebody asked why ARK Invest sells. ARK Invest has a rule that they shouldn't hold more than 10% of their fund in any one stock. When Tesla goes up, it goes over 10% of their holding, they have to sell. I think they bent it a little bit and they allow themselves to go up to 12% now, or they gave themselves more freedom to wait before they sell. But roughly, ARK Invest has a rule for their fund that they shouldn't hold more than 10% in any one stock. Since they hold Tesla at around 10%, when it goes up, they have to sell. When it goes down, they buy more. People keep asking about the new Model 3. I have a 2018 Model 3 from Omar. Really enjoying it. Great vehicle. Getting used to it. It's still little details getting used to. Has a really good backup camera system where you've got the main backup camera and there's two side angle cameras so you can see a little bit more. It takes some getting used to. Drives great. The quiet rapid acceleration is really amazing. The quiet, smooth rapid acceleration is amazing. Why didn't the chip shortage hurt non-solar companies? I don't know the answer to that question. Different chips, I guess. My channel, I'm not going to answer your question. That's personal. Fremont needs tearing down and rebuilding properly. I don't know if Fremont needs to be torn down. I think Fremont is a productive factory. It is not as productive. It is not as profitable as Shanghai. It's not going to be as productive or profitable as Texas and Berlin. But I think once Berlin and Texas are up and ramped and really running, then they may revise some of the lines. It would make sense at some point. Maybe it might even make sense to shut down Fremont at some point. I'm not sure. But, as long as they're making cars and selling them at a profit, why would you stop? They make reasonably good profit on even those cars. So I have between 50 and 5,000 shares, just to be clear, Larry Apple. I will admit that I have more than 100 shares and I have significantly less than 5,000 shares. I have a lot of shares. Well, my small town conservative neighbors hate my 2 Cybertrucks. Depends on the town. If they like pickup trucks, they're going to like, some of them are going to like your Cybertruck. My daughter thinks that Cybertruck is ugly. We'll see. I think once people see it in person, they'll probably appreciate it more. This is a single motor rear wheel drive Model 3. It's the original long range Model 3. Dave Lee is now at Starbase, but without Ellie. Yeah, Ellie's working. Ellie's in Salt Lake City working her new job as at a TV station there. You can use weedy chips for a solar roof. I don't know what that is. My daughter has ridden in the Model 3. Everybody's ridden. I'm the only one who's driven the Model 3. All right. So I've gone long enough. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please support this channel on Patreon. Links below. Check out the merch, elonbits.com, for the stainless steel water bottle, the t-shirts. Check out my other videos. Really appreciate it. Thanks to the moderators. Thanks to all the channel members. You can join the YouTube channel. Check out my show, The Daily Lie, on locals.com. Links to everything in the description below. Thanks again to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden and all my Patreon supporters. Again, thanks everyone for watching.